Hi, welcome back. My name is Johanna. I have no credentials and it's time for some more business management. So this isn't a specific chapter or part of a chapter. This is how to write the paper 2, the CUEGIS. So the CUEGIS stands for Change, Culture, Ethics, Globalization, Innovation, and Strategy. When doing a CUEGIS, you will be given a question that relates to two of those aspects. So, in the example I will be using to demonstrate, the question is, discuss the need to change objectives and innovate in response to change in internal and external environment factors for Coca-Cola. The example I am using is connected to the first CUEGIS I ever did, so by no means this is perfect, it's just an example to demonstrate what I mean when I'm explaining how to structure your CUEGIS. So this structure I am sharing, if you do it in the right way and you actually follow all of the points, it should get you all the marks for all of the 5 criterias, A, B, C, D, and E, and each criteria is worth 4 points. So for the introduction, there are essentially 3 main things you have to have. You have to have the context. This is the context of the company that is asked about in the question. Now, for your actual CUEGISs, they will ask you for a company of your choice. You should have been working with a company, a global company, for the past 2 years of the DP program. For this first one that we got, we were all given the same company just as an example. So it's a short introduction to your company, like what your company does and stuff like that. Maybe the year it was created, very short, concise. And then you have to link it to the question. That's the second part. And lastly, you have to define all of the concepts asked for in the question. So first of all, they're going to ask you about the CUEGIS, right? Those 6 concepts. They'll ask you for 2 random ones. You have to know the definitions for those. The definitions are: change refers to the modification or transformation in the way business is conducted as a response to internal factors or external factors. Culture refers to the norms, beliefs, and values of an organization or a collective group of individuals which shapes its practices and characteristics. Ethics refers to the moral principles and values that form the basis of how business activity is conducted. Globalization refers to the process by which people, ideas, goods, and services become increasingly spread around the world, creating greater integration and understanding of countries, organizations, and cultures. Innovation refers to the improvements of a product or process to better meet the needs and wants of customers in a profitable way. And lastly, it got cut off the page, but strategy refers to planned action designed to achieve the long-term goals or overall aims of an organization. So, as well as those definitions, you will also have to write the definition of the business management tool or theory or model that was referred to in the question. So in my example question, it says, in response to changes in internal and external environment factors. This is clearly referring to the model, the steeple model. So then I would have to explain what a steeple analysis is. So I will read out some of my example introduction paragraph, not the full thing, but still. Coca-Cola is a large company mainly focused on its carbonated non-alcoholic drink that has the same name as the company itself. And then I wrote some relevant history. You don't need to do that. Over the years, Coca-Cola has released tons of different innovative versions of the Coca-Cola drink due to changes in external and internal factors, and need to keep transforming the company to this day to keep the company at a large size as it is now. This has and will be done by changing the company's objectives. So that's how I referred to the question, or linked back to the question. And then after that, I just wrote, changes refers to the modification or transformation, blah, 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 blah. You don't care. I just read them out. And then I wrote, innovation refers to blah, 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 blah. No one cares, okay? And then I wrote, the internal factors will be seen through the functions of the company. The external factors will be found through a steeple analysis of the soda industry. Steeple is a model that outlines the social, technological, economical, ethical, political, and legal and ecological factors of said industry in order to assist a company in how they should proceed. So that's my introduction. So for the body paragraphs, you would need to include some things. The first things first is that you want to have between 2 and 4 paragraphs, preferably 4. So essentially how you structure this would be to have 2 paragraphs centered around each concept. By the concepts, I mean the CUEGIS concepts. So in my situation, I would have 2 paragraphs about innovation and 2 paragraphs about change. So within these 2 paragraphs, you would explain a BM tool and then how you would apply that to the company and then the pros and cons of the BM tool. So in this case, I would have 1 paragraph about innovation and how innovation responds to changes in the internal environment, and then 1 paragraph about how innovation responds to the external environment, so that I'm doing it that way. And then I would have the 2 same things about change. Right, the BM tools you can use is the same. You can explain the same thing if you want to, but you have to apply them to like the other concept. But you can use the same thing, so don't be worried about that. I will not be reading out my examples because, to be honest, they're just not the best ever, and I don't really think it would help you. Okay, maybe I'll read out one. Companies change objectives in response to external factors all the time and for many different reasons. The world the companies are situated in is constantly changing, and therefore so does the company. And if they don't, the companies will cease to exist. Some of the main reasons are to keep customers, because when things change, they may not need the product or service anymore. To avoid legal issues, to be seen by customers, governments, investors, and, for example, to be environmentally friendly, to create a good image for a company and gain more profit. For example, looking at the steeple analysis of a soda industry, if Coca-Cola wants to keep old customers, they need to change their objectives to seem less like a health hazard. As seen in recent years, sugary products have been known to be unhealthy. For example, it adds to the problem of obesity. This is an external social factor because the idea changed in society and now people are less willing to buy sugary drinks. By changing their objectives to turn their brand image into a healthier one, people will keep buying them. This will benefit the customers because they will be healthier. However, this could also be seen as a negative for the customers because with healthier products, they will be more likely to have a marked up price. So, something super important about this, and I could have definitely used more, is to use as much business management terminology as possible. Just like shove it in there, okay? Never use the word people, never use the word money, always refer to the business management terminology. So that was just one example of many, and that one wasn't that great, so don't really listen to it, but it's an example. It served as its purpose. So when it comes to the part about comparing the pros and cons, you do this by talking about the stakeholders. So there are internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. The internal stakeholders are shareholders, the CEO or managing director, the senior manager, the middle manager, foremen and supervisors, employees, and stuff like that. So the external shareholders are government, suppliers, customers, people in the local community, financiers, pressure groups, and the media. So you have to mention at least 4 of these in your CUEGIS in general. Like, you have to mention 4 different ones in total. That is a part of the criteria. You just have to do it. And that's how you do the pros and cons. You could be like, oh, the employees are likely to get fired, and that's why it's a negative. Or they might get less money, or like less salary or something. Like, anything like that, okay? Just make it up, make it work. So in the conclusion, it's very important to clearly state that you are writing the conclusion. Essentially, write the words in conclusion. That's how your conclusion should start. Do it, like literally write those words. I'm not even kidding, just do it. You have to include the concepts, the content, and the context. And you have to rewrite this, like summarize essentially everything. I mean, this is a very short part. It's not that important. You just summarize it quickly. So essentially, you would mention which CUEGIS concepts you have, the actual question, like link back to it, and then talk about the actual company. Like, you have to mention the company again, and also to show the context, and also some of the strategies or some of the things you suggested. So you rephrase everything. I just want to reiterate again, this is very short. Remember, write in conclusion, say the company, explain what you're suggesting or what they're doing in relation to your question, and just like that. My example in this situation was, in conclusion, it's crucial for companies such as Coca-Cola to change objectives and innovate in response to internal and external environmental factors to ensure to keep growing and profiting. Many factors change over time, such as society becoming more health aware, whatever else I suggest. These types of factors have implications on different shareholders. For example, suppliers may need more or less funding, but overall, the positives of the changing a company's objectives seem to weigh out the negatives, because without adapting, a company can't last in these constantly transforming competitive industries. So you essentially have to answer the question. But remember, you have to have a balanced reply in your essay in general. So throughout the essay, you have to have both pros and cons. And if at the end, if you feel like it, you can just answer like I did. Of course, that conclusion is lacking some of the BM content. Like, I should have mentioned the theories I talked about in my essay a little more. But other than that, it's a good example. Now, for my CUEGIS that is coming up very soon, this is essentially how I prepare for it. I write down every single model I can think of that they might ask about, and then I fill it out. So my company is H&M. I will not be going through all of the models today, but here are just a few that I thought of for marketing. Pricing, segmentation, positioning map, BCG, PLC, and then there are all the old ones, and that's pretty much all I could come up with. So I forgot to make an end card, and I'm tired, so I'm just going to say it instead. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, follow me at Johanna Frennert on Instagram, and goodbye. Hopefully you learned something. Whoop whoop. I am tired. Woohoo!